Justin Clancy is the re-elected member for Albury. Justin, a bit of a bittersweet outcome for yourself, given the result overall for the Liberal and National Coalition.
Yeah, bittersweet, Ricky. Look, certainly speak of the privilege of serving as the member for Albury, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to serve again, and thankful to the Albury community for that. And across the state, Ricky, obviously, the community have said it is time for a fresh start. And from a Liberal National perspective, we need to heed that call, and I think it's a good opportunity to reset and to move forward.
Well, as we look at the counting still underway on Tuesday when we're speaking, doesn't look like the Chris Minns incoming government has a strong majority, could yet even be a minority government, possibly. I think John Howard said it was a thin red brick wall at best. Is that a fair analysis?
Yeah, look, obviously in that regard, and the new government comes in, there's a fair expectation around, how the new government will perform in that regard. And from my perspective, it's really important to, as I've said locally, Ricky, wish the new government well, because if your government goes well, your community goes well, your state goes well. So certainly want to do that. But as an opposition, we need to be working as an effective opposition, and that's to act constructively, but it is about holding the government to account at the end of the day.
Now, you've been an MP for the majority, if not the total amount of time within government ranks. Now you head to the other side of the parliament. How do you feel things will go in terms of getting results in your electorate, indeed for those local communities out in the western part of the Albury electorate?
Yeah, certainly, Ricky. Look, obviously, there's still a really important role in playing as your local member, and I'm deeply conscious about the need of being an effective local member, and that is continue to be an advocate, continue to be a strong representative for your community. Also look to see what you can do locally. We have some great organisations. Amaranth out at Corowa is one good example of that, Ricky, where want to work with those organisations, the great people involved with them, to make sure that we continue, Ricky, to empower our community to be the best community that it can be at the end of the day. And that's something that I'm passionate about. We'll still continue to look at advocating in Sydney. I think, Ricky, as we move forward, what's really important is to say regional New South Wales needs to have a focus on it. I know, particularly over the last few months, we've talked about roads previously with you, Ricky. We had, I think, something like $20 million in our electorate alone over the last couple of months go towards the road, given all the trauma from that wet weather. Moving forward, we need to have that continued focus on regional New South Wales. We had, post-COVID, Ricky, a real, almost renaissance or boom in regional areas. We want to continue to see that moving forward.
And I guess when it comes to the election campaign, sometimes it can be hard for the general public to delineate between what was pledged by the coalition going into the election as opposed to what was actually delivered just before, I guess, the caretaker period. What are some major funding outcomes that were actually achieved during that final year before the change of government? Yeah,
look, for me, in the local community, it was there was a lot of projects that really came home in the last period there, Ricky, and that was off the back of years of advocacy in that regard. But obviously, new school for Thurgoona, courthouse upgrades at Albury, the Corowa sale yards are another big example of a significant investment, Ricky. We saw $10 million go towards civil infrastructure around Thurgoona, which, Ricky, is the real growth area of Albury. The list continues in that regard. Obviously, the work with Albury City around social housing as well. So lots of big projects, and obviously a pretty significant investment in health in terms of $558 million between the two state governments for Albury-Wodonga Health.
And just lastly, you mentioned there the sale yards. When it comes to agriculture, Labor's shadow spokesperson was Mick Veitch, but he might not make it in the upper house. Are you going to need to be a strong voice on what the agricultural community needs as well in your electorate and indeed across regional New South Wales?
Yeah, Mick Veitch is a good man, and unfortunately he wasn't selected by the Labor Party to go back into the upper house. I was down at Corowa just the other day, Ricky, and seeing those sale yards progress is just fantastic. They're going to be... this is the big thing, Ricky, is at the end of the day, agriculture is a big part of our economy, and you can see that manifestly with the Corowa sale yards. So absolutely, I mean, coming off the land myself, Ricky, passionate about our agricultural industry. We've got great leaders within agriculture, and we're really going to need to keep stepping up to make sure our voices are heard in Sydney.
Well, good stuff. Justin Clancy is the member for Albury, now in opposition, but plenty on the agenda to take up for the local community. Thanks so much for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky. Take care.